Throughout history, America has had its fair share of leaders, some celebrated, others controversial. While some presidents made lasting positive impacts, others left behind records that are criticized even today. Here are the top 10 worst American presidents in history, and the reasons they're remembered less than fondly. Number 10. Herbert Hoover. Herbert Hoover is remembered for leading the country into the Great Depression. Although he tried to turn things around with government programs, his efforts were too late and too small to prevent the economic collapse. His failure to act decisively led to immense suffering and joblessness across the country. Number 9. Richard Nixon. Nixon's presidency was marked by the Watergate scandal, one of the biggest political scandals in U.S. history. His attempts to cover up illegal activities in his administration led to a constitutional crisis, forcing him to become the only U.S. president to resign. While he did have some achievements, Watergate overshadows them all. Number 8. John Tyler. John Tyler, often referred to as His Accidency, took office after the death of President William Henry Harrison. He clashed constantly with Congress, vetoing key bills and ultimately becoming the first president to have an entire cabinet resign in protest. His lack of popular support and inability to lead effectively make him one of the least remembered and impactful presidents. Number 7. Millard Fillmore. Millard Fillmore's presidency is often criticized for his support of the Compromise of 1850, which included the Fugitive Slave Act. This act required that escaped enslaved people be returned to the South, even if they had reached free states, fueling tensions that would eventually lead to the Civil War. His choices earned him little respect among both Northern and Southern voters. Number 6. Franklin Pierce. Franklin. Pierce is remembered for his support of the Kansas-Nebraska Act, which allowed new territories to decide on the issue of slavery. This led to violent conflicts known as Bleeding Kansas, a prelude to the Civil War. His lack of leadership during this critical time made the division between North and South even worse. Number 5. James Buchanan. Buchanan is often blamed for failing to prevent the Civil War. Despite clear signs of growing division between North and South, he did little to address the issue. His inaction allowed Southern states to prepare for secession, which occurred just as his term ended, leaving the next president, Abraham Lincoln, to deal with the consequences. Number 4. Andrew Johnson. Andrew Johnson, who took office after Lincoln's assassination, is known for opposing Reconstruction efforts and for clashing with Congress. His lenient approach towards the South and his opposition to civil rights protections for freed slaves led to a weak post-Civil War recovery. Johnson's policies set back racial equality and civil rights for decades. Number 3. Warren G. Harding. Harding's presidency is synonymous with corruption. His administration was marred by scandals, including the infamous Teapot Dome scandal, where government officials accepted bribes from oil companies. Harding's lax approach to governance allowed corruption to thrive, damaging public trust in the presidency. Number 2. Ulysses S. Grant. Although Grant was a respected general, his presidency was plagued by corruption. Several high-ranking officials in his administration were involved in financial scandals, like the Whiskey Ring and Credit Mobilier, and his inability to control his administration's corruption damaged his reputation as a leader. Number 1. Andrew Jackson. While Andrew Jackson is often celebrated as a champion of the common man, his policies were highly controversial. The forced relocation of Native American tribes, known as the Trail of Tears, resulted in thousands of deaths and is considered a dark chapter in American history. His actions toward indigenous populations and his disregard for the Supreme Court's rulings place him at the top of our list. History remembers each president differently, and while some are celebrated, others are remembered for their controversies and failures. Whether through scandal, corruption, or failed policies, these presidents left a mark on history, but not for the better. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more historical content.